Because if you go unconscious, are you knowing that you are still alive? And when you wake up, you say, for heaven's sake, I'm happy to be alive. How did you know you are alive now? How do you know that you are still here in this world and that this wife is still your wife? He said, yeah, but this is what I left behind. But you have been unconscious for 3 months. He says, but you know, Babuji, there is this memory. He says, memory, you are relying on memory. Lamonist argument. Somebody said, but Babuji, you are not intelligent. You never went to school or college. He says, I'm telling you, if you want to find an intelligent person, look among fools. And if you want to find a fool, look among intelligent people. See, this sort of invertendo, which was another great principle of his, you see. And you know, the seeing is believing. All that you see, you believe. He said, suppose you see something in the darkness and you think it's a ghost and it's a tree stump, like Shankara said. He said, yes, but that's a fault of perception. But you are seeing. Now you are talking about perception. Next you talk of something else. Seeing is believing is therefore not right. Yeah, I guess so. So it went on like that, you know. And we will talk more later. Well, you know, I would like to read something from this book, My Master. I have already told you, I think, about how it came to be written. I would, you know, talking about the environment and the atmosphere, I had accompanied Babuji Maharaj to Salem. We were accommodated in the residence of an Abhyasi. All went well the whole day, but at night Master was extremely restless and slept only in fits and starts. When I woke up next morning, I found Babuji Maharaj quite restless and exhausted. The second night we moved to a nearby hotel and I was happy that Master slept deeply and continuously right through that night. When he woke up, Master said, look here, we are in a hotel where thousands of people come and go, but the atmosphere is better and purer than at that place where we stayed last night. Is it not a shameful thing that the atmosphere of the house should be so gross and dirty while a hotel room is cleaner? What to say of the people who live there in that house? It's a shameful thing that people mold their lives in such a way that their environment is completely polluted and spoiled. Really speaking, our minimum duty is to leave the world at least as we found it when we came into it, not spoil it and destroy it. We should really try to leave the world a better place than we found it. Right living becomes very important. We must tune our lives in such a way that everything that comes in contact with us is improved. Everything we touch must get divinized. See, that is the duty of a human being. And talking of sensitivity, he says, how to develop sensitivity, I have told you already. He says, but I tell you one thing, sensitivity is also a curse in another way, because you become open to everything. Everything affects you. I tell you, it can cause much suffering and misery. Imagine looking anywhere or at anything or at any person, and immediately the whole thing is before your eyes. How can you remain unaffected? Such a person will be compelled to share in the joys and miseries of all those around him. Sometimes I go to a new place where the atmosphere is so bad that I am almost suffocated. Then I have to clean it. Otherwise, I could not live in it. So we have to do this cleaning wherever we go. That is why I tell my associates that a master is really a sweeper, doing a sweeper's job. He attracts all the dust and uncleanliness and has to clean them off. That is why they say that for a whole country, a single saint of caliber is sufficient. He acts like a big cleaner, cleaning the whole country because all the grossness is attracted to him. You see this tamasha, the master is really a cleaner. That is why I say that the saint is a target for the world's sorrows. So sometimes we have to control sensitivity so that we are not too much affected. Otherwise, a sensitive person will become a victim of his own environment. I remember 2-3 episodes, one was this episode in Salem. The second one was when we were in the US and we had left Lakewood and we had come to Michigan, Lansing, East Lansing, Michigan. We were put up in a youth hostel and we were in a single small room with bunk bed, So he slept in the lower bed, I slept in the upper bed. He didn't sleep whole night. I could hear the bed creaking, tossing and turning. I got down, pressed his feet, went up again, Parsati, and I get down again. It went on all day. Next morning I said, why were you so restless? He said, I saw nothing but two people coupled together all the time. Couples after couples after couples, Youth hostel. He said, I have seen, that such places are very bad. And he said, this America is very bad, I'm telling you. But don't tell the Americans because they will get annoyed. The third one was in London when we came. We had been in Paris and everybody told him Paris is an awful place, But he said, I have been in Paris for 5 days. I have been in France for 3 weeks. But I find London is worse. And Veera Davis was very upset. She was our hostess there. She said, yes, Babuji, but how can you say London is so awful? He said, really, that awful? He said, I'm telling you, it is worse than that. And she was deflated, poor girl. And I said, why? Because he said, I'm telling you one thing. England is full of ghosts. He said this to Veera Davis, her husband. We were all there together around a swimming pool in their house. He said, England is full of ghosts. Then he commented on the system of burial, a dead body which is buried. The spirits are generally, gross spirits. And they're hanging around, trying to get back in, which is not possible. So he said, cremation is the best. You destroy the body and there's nothing to go back to, so at least it goes on its way wherever it has to go. I said, is that the only thing? He said, no. The people of this country, they have such narrow minds. They don't see anything except themselves. I told him they have a proverb or a statement of fact here that an Englishman's home is his castle. He says that is the problem. They have no friendship, they are isolated, and they have no sense of hospitality. So Veera said, what to do, Babuji? How can we do? What shall we do about England? He said, I have cleaned the atmosphere just a few percentage so that I can live comfortably and go. And she said, what about us? He said, that is your work. Now I have made you the preceptor. You work for your country and your people. Another occasion, we were in Germany in a particular house and we were only 4 people. And there was a big bowl of salad. They were tossing it religiously, and then giving it to everybody. My wife was there. In the next room, there were 4 people sitting. So Babuji told me, in Hindi, why don't you invite them to eat? I said, Babuji, we are in Germany. I cannot do the inviting. The host must invite. He said, you ask him to invite. So I said, why don't you invite those people here? He said, oh, but no, Shari, they are not expected to eat here and they know it. And he said in Hindi, he said, shameless people, there's so much food here, 20 people can eat. And why doesn't he call those people and eat? Or at least ask them if they want to eat. I said, this country, they don't do this. Much worse was to come. 3 days later, we were in another house. And a couple came the next morning with 2 children weeping. They had come from Switzerland. Inventa Age, that company. Big company, they do all the project engineering design work for almost everything in the world. And this man was working there and he had come with his children at night, 9 o'clock. He went to every hotel. They said, yeah, we have place. But when they said we have 2 children, they said, sorry. And they slept the whole night in the car. Babuji was so upset, you see. He said, how can a nation which treats its women and children like this suffer? Prosper. How can they exist, this country? I'm telling you, that is why they had 2 world wars. And he said, God forbid, there's going to be a third. This was, I think, in 1980, So all these things add up. He said they have no hospitality. Their culture is superficial. They think culture is in opening doors and closing doors and please sit down. He said, I'm telling you, if you want to find real hospitality, you must come to India. It's the only country where hospitality exists. So we Indians, we have a great heritage to maintain and keep up. Be inviting, feed anybody who comes without question. Don't even ask, will you eat? Give them food, they will eat, because very few people will acknowledge that they are hungry. And Babuji said in this connection a very important thing. You see, we have this Vedic statement, Acharya, what is this? Matra Devo Bhava, may the mother be looked upon as a goddess. Pitru Devo Bhava, look upon your father as a god. Acharya Devo Bhava, look upon your guru as a god. Atithi Devo Bhava, you see. Look upon your guest as God. So when I explained this to some of these people who were there, they said, but of course we always look upon our guests, with a great deal of etiquette and politeness. Babuji said, I'm telling you, that is not a guest. Who you invite, of course you will feed. Tithi means time. Atithi means untimely. He who comes without an invitation at a time when you could not expect a guest or are not prepared to receive a guest. Suppose somebody knocks at your house door at midnight. Will you enter? Will you allow him to enter? Will you offer him food and drink? That is Atithi Seva. Inviting 100 people to a party and spending $1,000 each is not hospitality. That is show. That is for a purpose. This is from the heart. When you feed, when you invite, there must be the heart behind it, not for politeness sake. So India is known for Atithi Deva Bhava, And yet, but today in modern culture, we are very afraid to invite people, to feed them. What will happen to us? I asked Babuji, in a country of poverty, how people can feed. He said, I'm telling you, the rich don't do it, it's the poor who do it. He said, you go to a poor man's hut in summer, he will give you a glass of buttermilk to drink. He won't have anything. And that is when he told me the story of Krishna. Lord Krishna went down to earth to inspire, to visit his bhaktas. Narada went with him. They landed at some palace gate, which was one of the richest kings on earth. And he was kept waiting for an hour in the sun. Finally, the emperor came out and said, yes, Krishna, what do you want? Krishna said, no, I've just come to see you. He said, oh, is that all? Well, I'm busy, You must excuse me. And the emperor walked back. And this Lord Krishna blessed him, may he become more powerful, may he have more territories and domains. Narada was a little surprised how he can bless this man like this, but then he said, he is the Lord, Like this, they went through about 10 places. Final place in the evening was to a cowherd who had only one cow. In a small hut he was living. And he was milking the cow for his evening meal, that's all he had. Lord Krishna went and he offered his milk to him. Krishna drank it and blessed him, may this cow die. I mean, in his thought, Narada could catch thoughts. So when they were returning to their celestial abode, Narada said, Lord, how can you be so heartless, merciless? Krishna said, me heartless, merciless, how do you make it out? He said, that fellow, that emperor who insulted you, who was without courtesy in your presence, who was so superficial in his regard for you. He just walked out and said, how are you, Krishna? And you said, oh, I've just come to see you. He said, well, I'm busy, next time we'll meet for a longer time. And he went away. And you blessed him. So extravagantly you blessed him. And to take the other extreme, you take this cottage of this poor fellow. One cow, he gave you the milk which he should have been drinking. And you blessed him that the cow may die. This is not divine justice, I'm telling you. Narada said. Krishna laughed. He said, Narada, you are a sage, you don't understand. He said, Lord, I don't understand. That's why I'm questioning your needs and your blessings. Krishna said, Narada, let us wait. We will stop here for a moment. That fellow, the emperor, will not turn towards me until he has seen the pinnacle of power and position and wealth. I want him to come quickly to me. Therefore, I blessed him like that. And Narada said, okay, what about this poor guy? He said, you know, between him and me, that cow is standing. A mere cow. And until that goes, he will not come to me. So Babuji said, blessings mean both. All blessings are to make you go closer to your Creator, to your original home. Sometimes his blessings may be destructive, sometimes his blessings may be useful. If you go to him, you must be prepared for both. Don't say, oh, I went to him and my wife died. I lost my job. No. Be sure it is for a better future. This is faith again. To go to the master and to be blessed in such a way that you go home and find your, child sick, your dog run away, your job gone, and still say, well, everything happens for the best. That is faith. So this sort of thing, again and again, well, Babuji, why is my wife sick, I just arrived and I got a call saying my wife is sick, I want to go home immediately. So Babuji said, if you think your presence can do good to her, yes, you go. Man immediately left. He said, look here. I said, Babuji, why did you send him away? He said, I did not send him away. He went. I said, if you think your presence will do her better, you go. His presence is not going to make any difference. But he didn't understand. His desire was to go. So he goes. I said, but should you not tell him that your presence will make no difference? He will say, he will not believe me. He's a Westerner, he's intellectual. He'll say, but Babuji, when I go there, I can call the doctor, I can call the ambulance, I can telephone this, I can do that. They are very egotistic. They think they can do anything in this world. They have to learn lessons by suffering. I said, you think she will die? He said, I have not thought about that. It's not necessary. That is for him to think. You see? I don't know what he found later. I remember an old story I read or heard about a couple, American couple who are walking in the Himalayas near Hardwar, Rishikesh, they went up higher and higher. And at one point, they found an old man in a short dhoti like this, sitting under a tree, just like this, one leg folded, one leg straight. And they sat down and said, what are you doing here? He said, oh, I'm doing nothing. But then they said, oh, shouldn't you be contributing in some way? You are a human being, you eat food, and you are sitting lazy and idle like this whole day. He said, well, I do nothing. I eat little. But I can work if I want to. Yes, said, why don't you work? He said, how do you know I'm not working? They said, but if you work, somebody should see it being done, no? Work has to be done. People who see you will know that you are working, but you're just sitting a lazy fellow here. He said, in your country it is like that? They said, yes. What do you do in your country? He said, oh, I go at 7 o'clock in the morning to work. I have to drive my car 30 miles. And then, every moment of the day I'm busy. He said, doing what? I said, he writes this, I do that, I dictate. What effect? He said, we make more money. My company has to make money every year. Otherwise, I lose my job. So you are making money for somebody else. What are you doing for yourself? He said, that's a funny question. I make money. Is that all? What do you do with your money? Well, I buy my food. I have a house. He said, I also buy my food. I have a house which is this tree. How do you think I am any worse than you? He said, but you have nothing here. In my house, I have television. I have this. I have all the modern. He said, what is a television? He said, you switch it on, you can see what's happening all over the world. He said, give me that big piece of rock there. He said, he took it. He said, look into it. And he saw his house in New Jersey and his daughter of 16-year-old, seriously ill, and his, the girl's grandmother, that is his wife's mother there, weeping in one corner, 3 doctors in attendance. He said, oh, I'm shocked. Is this real? He said, you are seeing it. I'm not seeing it. They were so frightened, they came down